uniting two worlds. Very interesting section actually today. So yesterday Raghunath Prabhu read and he read and mentioned whether the Prime Minister of India there will be an interview happening with the Prime Minister of India and Srila Prabhupada, and let's see if the Prime Minister of India lives up to his say expectations or what is supposed to be the heritage of India, the Vedic culture and the Vedic attitude. So continuing, chant Hare Krishna and fight. Viraj, this meeting with Srila Prabhupada was one of the most intense and unique that I had ever had, although I was able to be in his presence so many times. We were alone together at midnight. Everyone else was asleep. All the lights were out and it was just the two of us in this big room. He was sitting behind his marble translating desk and I was sitting on the floor at his feet. I said, Prabhupada, I'm sorry that I had to disturb you like this in the middle of the night. Srila Prabhupada said, that's all right. Actually, with this sickness, I cannot sleep at night. Even if I want to, I cannot sleep. Due to this illness, I cannot eat also. I'm such an old man. There's no question of sex life and there's no question of defense either. So I guess I'm liberated. Of course, I knew that Srila Prabhupada was liberated, not because of bodily circumstances, he was humbly saying, but because he was in transcendental consciousness. He was always up at night, translating, not because he was sick and couldn't sleep, but out of devotion to his Guru Maharaj and to Lord Krishna. But it was a very wry, humorous remark, and I felt very charmed by the whole meeting and offered my obeisances and went back to sleep. The next morning, Tamal Krishna Goswami and Giriraj were prepared well in advance for the meeting with the Prime Minister. Before leaving, they asked Prabhupada what books they should give him. Prabhupada replied, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna book and teachings of Lord Chaitanya. In Hindi, asked Giriraj. Prabhupada frowned. No, English. The devotees went in their car to pick up Mr. Rajda at his flat. From there, they would go to the apartment on Marine Drive where Prime Minister Desai was staying. After Giriraj had been ringing the front doorbell for about 20 minutes, Mr. Rajda finally appeared. He said that they had to wait just 5 more minutes while he continued dressing and eating. Unfortunately, by the time they reached the apartment on Marine Drive, it was 8 o'clock. They were 30 minutes late. As soon as they entered, the Prime Minister said, "You're very late." He was already meeting with some other people and said that he would see the devotees for a few minutes. He repeated that he had been waiting since 7:25. The devotees remained silent, not knowing what to say. They apologized and gave him Prabhupada's books. Mr. Desai didn't say much and quickly excused himself, going back to his meeting with the others. When the devotees returned to the temple, Prabhupada eagerly asked, what happened? He was very upset to hear that they had been late. Very bad, he said. He remarked that Morarji Desai was known for his punctuality. They had missed a good opportunity, he said, by their misbehavior. When the devotees explained that Mr. Rajda had made them late, Prabhupada asked for a more detailed report. The devotees said the main thing Morarji Desai wanted to know was why they were that Ratan Singh Rajda made you late, asked Prabhupada. Giriraj and Tamal Krishna shook their heads. Prabhupada became disgusted and said, why did you not say that he made you late? That you were on time but he made you late. I know you are thinking that he's our friend and you didn't want to embarrass him in front of the Prime Minister, but now the whole thing is spoiled. Feeling very foolish and ashamed, the devotees sat silently before Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada reflected for a moment. Anyway, he said, these men will never change their views. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 14, The Forest of Material Enjoyment, and text 28. So, we'll actually try to go through this by myself. Vapi deva mayaya striya bhuja latopa ugada prakshana viveka vidyanano yadvihara griham bahukala hridayastad ashrayavaskata sutadhutri kalatra bahit swalaloka vichetsita parihitam hridayatmanam ajitatma pare nidhe tamasi prahinoti. Please respond on the word meanings. Vapi, somewhere. Deva Mayaya, by the influence of the illusory energy. Striya, in the form of one's girlfriend or wife. Bhujalata, by beautiful arms, which are compared to tender creepers in the forest. Upagudha, being deeply embarrassed. Praskana, lost. Viveka, all intelligence. Vijnana, scientific knowledge. Yat vihara, for the enjoyment of the wife. Griha arambha, to find a house or apartment. Akula hridaya, whose heart becomes engrossed. Tat, of that house. Ashraya avasakta, who are under the shelter. Suta, of sons. Duhitra, of daughters. Kalatra, of the wife. Bhasita avaloka, by the conversations and by the beautiful glances. Vichestita, by activities. Aparihita hridaya, whose consciousness is taken away. Atmanam, himself. Ajita, uncontrolled. Atma, whose self. Apare, in unlimited. Andhe, blind darkness. Tamasi, in hellish life. Prahinoti, he hurls. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation. Sometimes the conditioned soul is attracted by illusion personified, his wife or girlfriend, and becomes eager to be embraced by a woman. Thus he loses his intelligence as well as knowledge of life's goal. At that time, no longer attempting spiritual cultivation, he becomes overly attached to his wife or girlfriend and tries to provide her with a suitable apartment. Again, he becomes very busy under the shelter of that home and is captivated by the talks, glances, and activities of his wife and children. In this way, he loses his Krishna consciousness and throws himself in the dense darkness of material existence. Purport. When the conditioned soul is embraced by his beloved wife, he forgets everything about Krishna consciousness. The more he becomes attached to his wife, the more he becomes implicated in family life. One Bengali poet, Bankim Chandra, says that to the eyes of the lover, the beloved is always very beautiful, even though ugly. This attraction is called Deva Maya. The attraction between man and woman is the cause of bondage for both. Actually, both belong to the Para Prakriti, the superior energy of the Lord, but both are actually Prakriti, female. However, because both want to enjoy one another, they are sometimes described as Purusha, male. Actually, neither is Purusha, but both can be superficially described as Purusha. As soon as man and woman are united, they become attached to home, earth, land, friendship, and money. In this way, they are both entrapped in material existence. The word Bhujalata Upaguda, meaning being embraced by beautiful arms which are compared to creepers, describes the way the conditioned soul is bound within this material world. The products of sex life, sons and daughters, certainly follow. This is the way of material existence. Ayena vacha manasendriyerva buddhyatmana vanyashruta svabhavat karoti yat yat sakalam parasme Narayanamiti samarpayetat. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Upam karoti vachanam pangum langayati girim yat pipatam vande Shri Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Praying for the blessings of the assembled Vaishnavas. Hopefully try to speak something on Srimad. What a glorious blessing, what a glorious blessing, a fortune to be able to actually study Srimad Bhagavatam on a daily basis in the association of devotees. Such a fortune in life. So we continue with our study of Srimad Bhagavatam. So chapter Canto 5th, chapter 14, the forest of fire of material enjoyment. Interesting, forest fire. We see that this forest fire, we don't see anyone going into a forest and kind of lighting it up. Somehow or other, interesting, somehow or other. So by the friction of trees, wood, air, somehow or other, the fire starts up. and then slowly, steadily, gradually, it fills up, such a way that it becomes the forest fire, the whole forest, which is so dense. Forest means dense, something which is deep and dense, and where there is a there is a good potency that someone who is entering it might get lost, big chance. So somehow or other, by this friction, the forest is ignited, and then the fire spreads so much so, like we see in this material workings in Australia and in America. I think it's a regular occurrence that somehow or other, okay, forest fire because of the season and all, and it picks up, and then through media, news, and everyone is all over that somehow um, kind of uh, through helicopters and all, let's turn down this fire. So that's the thing about this material enjoyment. Somehow or other, uh, this it, kicks in, and somehow or other, and some of like what we can see, it kicks in, and when it kicks in, it takes us so deep, so dense, we completely get lost in it, absorbed and completely get lost, and then we forget what is the we lose. A person loses his intelligence as well knowledge of life's goal. What is this forest all about? And predominantly, why are we here? What are we here for? And where's the exit route? That is completely lost. So what happens is we see, okay, the fire department and all, they are called, and um, they assemble, and somehow through their means and all, they try to quieten the forest fire. Likewise, we every morning, such a joy. Every morning, devotees wake up, and then their first prayer they offer is to Vaishnavas, to the spiritual master, to acharyas, saying what? Samsara dava nalalitha loka tranaya karunya ghana ghanatvam prapta sakalyanam gunarnavasya vande guru shri charnaravindam. So somehow or other, samsara dava nalali dhaloka. Somehow or other, we have been trapped in this forest fire of material sense enjoyment. But we pray to the Vaishnavas, to spiritual master. Krishna helps us so much. In the path of practicing Krishna consciousness, one would realize, or one should pray sincerely to realize that whatever is happening currently in my life, whatever is going on, whatever Krishna has designed, whosoever we are meeting or any occurrence, is actually Krishna's arrangement or a plan in a way to bring us closer to Him. By practicing Krishna consciousness, devotees actually come through this realization. They get to know of this for sure, that whatever is happening in our life is an arrangement by the will of the Lord, with the only intention to bring us closer to Him. So, as in the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita teachings, Krishna said, Maya Mugda Jivere Nahi Swata Jnana Jivere Kripai Kola Krishna Ved Purana. We are so absorbed in Maya, in this fruitive tendency, in this chase towards material enjoyment, that we don't know what is the purpose of life, and we don't know who we are, what is our existence. Maya Mugda Jivere Nahi Swata Krishna Jnana. We forgot what is our real identity. But Krishna is so kind, so loving, so caring. Jivere Kripai Koila Krishna Ved Purana. That is His love for His unconditional love towards us. Not only He created the material world and gave all the constituents and the elements for us to survive and live peacefully, amicably, but the Vishesh Kripa He done is gave us scriptures, then the devotees, every path, every step to help us out. It's the mercy of Krishna. We need to develop that vision in order to see that mercy of Krishna or experience that mercy of Krishna. So I will go through the translation again just so that we can be on track. So sometimes the conditioned soul is attracted by illusion personified, his wife or girlfriend, and becomes eager to be embraced by a woman. Thus he loses his intelligence as well as knowledge of life's goal. At that time, no longer attempting spiritual cultivation, he becomes overly attached to his wife or girlfriend and tries to provide her with a suitable apartment. Again, he becomes very busy under the shelter of that home and is captivated by the talks, glances, and activities of his wife and children. In this way, he loses his Krishna consciousness and throws himself in the dense darkness of material existence. So, it's undeniable, it's natural, this attraction towards enjoyment in general. And then we understand that it's worldly, sensual enjoyment. But that desire, that tendency, that force, that activation is natural. Because we are sentient beings. We are spirit souls, not dead matter. We have consciousness. That's our symptom. And through consciousness, we have this desire of feeling, willing, thinking. So we want to actually feel something, we want to experience something. We desire, we hanker to will something. And we think, we make plans, we think, we have aims and aspirations. Why? Because deep down we are spirit soul, entrapped, encaged in this material identity. Very much in this material identity, unaware of our relationship with Krishna, the source of our existence. So we have this tendency to become attracted. Otherwise, we are not like a stone or a dead stone that wouldn't get attracted as such. But the conditioned soul, this is the conditioning. Throughout, we have very expertly, in an unfortunate way, very expertly conditioned ourselves, trained ourselves in this chase for sense gratification, running after worldly pleasures in the form of woman, wealth, and wine. In that form, and by that implication, we forget our real identity. But this is where the message of Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is really the savior, the ultimate savior for all of us. The message of Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, it does the job end to end, in the sense there's the diagnosis of the problem, lets us know, gives a proper full diagnosis of the problem, as we have been going through these verses in this beautiful chapter, and all the chapters of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. They do a proper diagnosis of the real problem of our life, then the real root cause of the problems and the ultimate solution. Not a temporary time, place, circumstance based solution, no. Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita never leaves us in a limbo state. Okay, for now you are good to go, move on. And then another 2 weeks, the same problem. No. Krishna doesn't work that way. He doesn't want it like that way. Prabhupada didn't work it that way. Uh, so they don't want us to be hanging around in a limbo and in and out sort of thing. So the solution is there definitely. It's not like okay, bashing someone up. Oh, this is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong. That doesn't help. That doesn't help. So in the sense like Bhagavatam or Krishna or devotees, they don't line us up or rank us up and then have a proper hammering and or go at us. Rather, Srimad Bhagavatam and devotees expose the nakedness, the futility of this material world. And when that is exposed simultaneously, or rather, I would say, they expose, they bring out the beautiful glories of Krishna, the kindness of Krishna, the love of Krishna, the joy in practicing devotional service. And through that process, the exposure of the nakedness, the futility of this material sense enjoyment fixed up with this material identity is exposed. And when that is exposed, our intelligence becomes revived. The intelligence becomes revived. And because deep down we are Krishna's, we are spirit soul, deep down we have an eternal bond with Krishna. So that revival happens, and gradually with good association, good sincerity, good attitude, and carrying good association, that fire kicks in, it ignites further and further and can become more and more strong. Otherwise, it's a set decorum in life, be it anywhere, India, United States, UK, any part of the globe. It's a set decorum. What? Okay, a child is born, fine, and then after a few years starts walking, running, jumping. Okay, and now time for you to go to school. Off you go. Take your education, study hard, engage in sports and music or whatever other activities. For what purpose? So that you can find an employment for yourself, or you can find some. See, all is about engagement, finding an engagement. So one can find an employment for oneself, essentially meaning a good engagement. So find an employment for oneself, and then what will happen with that employment? Okay, then money will come in, and through money, what will happen? Okay, possessions through money, actually, say assets or utilities or possessions could be occupied or brought, like in the form of car or house and things like that could be had. And then what will happen? Okay, now you have set your foot in the society, pretty much established yourself. So next thing is get yourself a bride or a groom, and live happily ever after. So then continue, and then what? Okay, have children. In the same story, okay, raise children, give them good, try to give them good knowledge or upbringing as such, and then make them aware of the workings of this world. And the same thing, okay, school, uni, jobs, marriage, kids, and so on, continue going on. All this is, there's no harm in it, there's nothing wrong as such in it. Certainly, there's nothing harm in it. It's the consciousness, the approach, the understanding with which we participate in life. That is the deciding factor. That becomes the deciding factor. Throughout, the thing is about engaging ourselves. What? School, 5 hours, 6 hours, whatever number of hours. It's an engagement. Our jobs and engagement, business and engagement, family life and engagement, raising children and engagement, looking after the house. Throughout, retirement, again an engagement of participation. And this is what devotees also hanker or call out, cry out. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, to engage us, to give some employment to us, to engage us, to help us participate in practicing devotional service. And in this sort of engagement, our memory is never bewildered, our intelligence is never lost, rather, it is sharpened. The purpose of life becomes even more clearer, evolved. The purpose of life, if we ask anyone, it's the same. Whosoever the person is after happiness only. After happiness, after some knowledge, or after some security and peace. But because of this wrong sense of participation in this world, even after chasing so hard towards happiness, it is just a feet away or few inches away. Just like when we try to catch a butterfly, we may run very hard trying to catch a butterfly, but it is always just a step away, just a step away. Oh, I just had it, I just had it. So attraction is undeniable, but then this is the sense how it develops. Why? Because we are spirit souls, we have this tendency, we are Krishna, so we want to enjoy. But our sense of or understanding of enjoyment is a bit tainted with perversion. It's tainted like with material thought process. It's perverted. It's not pure. It's not healthy. It's not organic, and it's not natural. This is why even after engaging ourselves in sense pleasure in the form of woman, wealth, and wine, still we do not feel saturated. Going to pubs and having some pints, then the after effect shows it. The after effect is what? Hangover, headache, going for some betting, and the after effect shows it. Wow, I had a house, it's no more, it's gone. Or this tendency like, oh, I bet for this, I bet for that. So all these things, the after effect shows it. And then, but if we hang on to devotees or maintain some bit of decency, hang on to devotee association, and engage ourselves in devotional service, the after effect would be what? We would be freeing ourselves from the clutches of material energy, irrespective of the workings of this world. Irrespective, there may be a lot of chaos going on around in this world, but we would be freeing ourselves up. So the material working is trying to run after having a spouse and children, raising family, and having some sort of social status, some post position and things in life. But if it is not in relationship with Krishna, if it is not dovetailed, that tendency, that aspiration, that capacity is not dovetailed in relationship with Krishna or keeping Krishna at the center, then the effect wouldn't be very fruitful. Then the effect of it will lead us into more trouble or miseries. Fish out of water is never happy. It's never happy. The constitutional position of fish belongs to water. That is where it finds its real satisfaction or happiness. Likewise, we being spirit souls, we study Srimad Bhagavad-gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, associate with devotees, practice, engage ourselves. To begin with, be it bit by bit, but engage ourselves in devotional service. We'll find our true shelter, our true resolve, our true peace and joy at the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. the association of devotees. And throughout, the message of Bhagavad Gita will appeal to us so much. The message of Srimad Bhagavatam will appeal to us so much. So it says, after he has had his run or chase after, say, wife or girlfriend, and it's not like, okay, just wife or girlfriend. It is like throughout, sarvatra, it is exposed everywhere, wherever we are as such attracted to, without having a relationship or knowing in relation to Krishna. That would be a trap. Then what happens? At that time, no longer attempting spiritual cultivation, he becomes overly attached to his wife or girlfriend and tries to provide her with a suitable environment, apartment. Yeah, for material, for our survival, definitely, as Raghunath Prabhu was mentioning yesterday, preservation is the first law of nature. So definitely, for our survival, we need food, clothes, shelter, that thing. And we engage ourselves in this, somewhere to eat, somewhere to sleep, some bit to some sort of shelter. But thing is, this overly attachment. Attachment is I may say, it's a funny little thing. And overly attachment is like carried away, gone with the wind, carried away. The overly attachment. So, Krishna says to Uddhav Maharaj in Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto, Nati nirvinno, nati asakto. So, the thing is, we have to scale it up. So, neither too attached nor too detached. Even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says. So, neither too attached nor too detached. So, we have to gradually scale it up and come up to it. So, we engage, we participate in life in a sense that we are not too attached and neither too detached. That's a safe thing to begin with. But with this wrong or clueless conception, knowledge of life, and if we carry on with the so-called normal decorum, what happens that we very naturally become overly attached. It's undeniable. We naturally become overly attached, and which doesn't really bring us real joy. No harm in attachment as such, but we have to understand where to repose, where to put in our attachment. Krishna tells Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita from 7th chapter. So we understand 7th chapter, Krishna speaks more, illuminates more us on the glories of devotional service, on Bhakti Yoga. And he starts with saying, Maya Sakta Manapartha Yogam Yanjan Madashraya Asam Sayam Samagram Mam Yata Gyanachi Tachrinu. Krishna is telling Arjuna, Arjuna, you just become attached to me. Maya Sakta Manapartha. Become attached to me. Give your mind to me. And by this, becoming attached to me, giving your mind, giving an good oral reception to the message of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, to the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, you will get to know whatever is needed to be known without doubt. There won't be any doubt. So somehow if we try to actually attach ourselves to the message of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, then still the things would remain, family and familiar relations and conditions and situations, everything. Thing would be, we are not overly attached. Rather, we would engage everyone and everything, everyone possible and everything practical and possible, what is to be engaged in the service of Krishna. Small way to understand this is, well, not in UK, there isn't this the culture or the workings of having helpers in the homes or in the houses or maid servants in the houses. But in India, surely it is there. So what happens? A family is having some maid, some help in the house, domestic help, maid servant, maid helper to look after the house, workings of the house. In the house, the family involves say husband, wife, parents, and children. Now the young boys and girls, the children, young children, naturally they develop a good attachment towards the maid helper, towards the helper, the servant, the maid say, and they say, okay, auntie, and why don't you stay with us? We have say guests coming over for 3 days or for a week, and we will be playing. We have done all the preparations, food preparations, and what games to play. We have got everything scheduled and all. Please stay with us for a week. Be here with us for a week. You come and help us in the daily. You live with us, right? Practically 9 to 6 or whatever hours you spend with us. We love you so much. There will be food. We'll give you food. There is this. We'll give you everything. Will be there. Please stay with us. And we have got some guests coming for a week. It's just a matter of a week. And the servant, the maid say, she replies, this is all sounds very good, very lucrative, say, and very kind of you. But I have a home to go to. I have a home to attend. So how is she working? She's doing her job. She's doing her duty very diligently, so that the employer, the house owners, they are very happy and satisfied with her job. The children are very happy and satisfied with her job, and everything she's perfectly attending to. And when she's being asked, oh, why don't you please stay with us just for a week, say 3 days, okay, just 2 nights, spend 2 nights with us, her reply is, I have a home to attend to. I have to go to my home. I've got children, I've got friends, I've got to look after. So that's the style, the attitude, the art we need to develop, how to engage and participate in this world. That we are doing everything very neatly. We should be doing to the best of our ability and capacity things neatly, and yet not getting overly attached to it. Keeping in mind always the holy names of Krishna, the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, and whatever we do with every iota of our existence, every ounce and iota of our existence, is that the lordships are pleased, the Vaishnavas are pleased. So we take care of society, we take care of our workings, our jobs, life, family, everything in such a way that Krishna becomes pleased ultimately out of it. And how would Krishna be pleased? By when we actually cultivate ourselves in a sense that we are not trapped. We are not trapped. We are not like we have not become a parasite. We have not become a parasite in the house. We have not become trapped in the house. Then Krishna would be pleased. And surely, certainly, that means like living in family and all. It's not like okay, having a grave or a sad face, or frowning or crying or yelling. Through face, through our physical appearance and everything, we would be there. But we need to develop this vicarious attitude or nature, or this. We need to harness our consciousness so that through our mind and spirit we are constantly residing Goloka Vrindavan. Our heart should be there in Goloka Vrindavan. This is the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is what Prabhupada gave to us. Wherever we are, we should create that Vrindavan atmosphere. Living in the company of, say, household family life as well. First duty is to save ourselves, to save oneself, to protect oneself. The first duty one should do is to associate with devotees, listen from devotees, to go through the message of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, and take that training, train our mind and senses. Otherwise, it's a natural call. It has actually become a natural call for us. What chasing after material sense gratification, and we try to become controller, as it says in the purport. Whosoever, man or woman, one who is having this tendency to control, who has this tendency to control, is in Purusha Bhav, which is not in line with one's constitutional position. Ekala Ishvara Krishna. Krishna is the only controller, or the Krishna is the only enjoyer. He is the only male. Rest all are facilitating. All are facilitating, becoming facilitators. And there's no bigger joy in life than becoming a facilitator. Otherwise, it's a set norm, a set routine. Okay, having a house, and surely it needs a lot of stamina or understanding or intelligence. It's easier said than done. Okay, I've got this house, but I'm not attached to it. I've got these many assets, these many gadgets. I'm not attached to it. We see, just to end this on this note, I would say, we see like on WhatsApp and so many things, such a huge attachment, overly attachment. Attachment is okay, it is understood, but this overly attachment is a killer. We want to shift this consciousness from this material overly attachment to becoming overly attached to Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Granthraj Srimad Bhagavatam Mahapuran ki Jai.